Hello, children of God. How are you doing? I hope you all are doing fine and you all are keeping safe. My name is Effie Knight and I welcome you back to the CPA Shadrach Show, the #1 online show that teaches you how to create and manage wealth. On today's episode, we are going to tackle a very interesting topic with none other than CPA Shadrach Adino. On one of his episodes, he talked to us about saving, something that has been a nightmare to most of us. Today, he's going to tell us his secret, what actually worked out for him, how he began, his progress, and how he is right now. CPA Shadrach Adino, how are you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored of the Lord.
I am also blessed and highly favored of the Lord. I welcome you officially to the CPA Shadrach Show, today's episode.
Thank you.
And we are going to tackle savings today. You are going to tell us how this actually worked out for you. This has been a nightmare to most of us, right? Now, just before we begin, may you please tell us or describe to us what saving actually means? What is saving in your definition?
Thank you for that question. Saving simply means out of the income that you have, you set aside a fraction, not to spend today, but to spend in the future.
Okay, so if you have to save, then it means the saving has to be spent on the future.
Yes.
Not on the present.
No.
Okay.
You don't save to spend today, you spend for the sake of the future.
Okay, you have said something about setting aside a certain fraction to spend on the future.
Yes.
Would you please kindly describe or tell us more about these fractions and how you understand them? How one would spare what amount of fraction for the future?
Thank you for that question one more time. Now, when we talk about setting aside a certain fraction for the future, now I normally would talk of subdividing this one income into 5 segments.
Okay.
Now, the first segment is setting aside 10% for tithing. That is segment number 1. Number 2, you set aside 10% to support the needy. Number 3, you set aside 10% for purposes of emergency, such that if an emergency, something that is not expected happens to you, you have a fallback place to run and solve the emergency. Then the 4th segment is another 10% that you set aside for purposes of running your business in the future. Then that leaves us with the 5th segment, which is now 60%. Now this 60% you consume. So that is how I would subdivide my income for purposes of savings.
Wow, that was such a nice explanation. So in other words, if I'm to use my own words, then you have a rule of 10, 10, 10, 60.
Yes.
In terms of fractions.
Correct.
How about if someone wants to use another rule? One may decide to use 50, 30, 20. One might decide to actually save above or below the fractions you have told us right now, you have pointed down. So how about that? Can we really depend on these fractions, or one can decide to save above or below?
Yeah, once again, thank you for that question. Now, how did I come up with the 4 tens and then the 60%? I thought that would work for me. That is why I came up with it. However, if somebody has another fraction like 50, 30, 20, and if it is working for him, I think that is also fine. However, for me, as far as I'm concerned, now what I decided to come up with was partnership with God, take 10% for tithing. Then remembering the needy, take another 10% to give to the needy. Then remembering the reality of life that we live in, that there will always be times of emergency. Take another 10% and set aside for emergency. Then remembering that there is also life tomorrow. Take another 10%, save for starting your business. Then it will leave us with a balance of 60%. Now it is this 60% that, according to my formula, is supposed to be spent on domestic and personal consumption. So for me, it works well for me because, number 1, as I repeat, you remember God, tithing. You remember the needy, 10%. You remember emergency cases, 10%. You remember that you will need to start your own business because, as I've been saying before, you cannot create wealth perfectly if you don't start your own business. So that is how I came with 4 tens and left with 60%. Okay. So that works well for me.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Let me just ask you, CPA Shadrach. People have different salaries. We have people with different salaries, some earning below 30,000, above 50,000, above 100,000. Is saving dependent on one's income?
Once again, thank you for that question. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, and based on my experience, savings does not depend on one's income. Savings can be done irrespective of level of earnings. Somebody with a low salary should save, as well as somebody with a high salary should save. And remember, we are not talking of specific figures. We are talking of percentages of savings. So whether you are a high incomer or a low incomer, you are supposed to save.
Okay.
Yes.
Just before we go far, I want us to begin with someone who's earning a 10,000 or 15,000 salary.
Yes.
This is someone who's also supposed to be using this 10, 60% rule, right?
Yes.
Kindly would you please tell us how someone who's earning 10 to 15,000 is supposed to save 10% for emergency, 10% for tithing, 10% for emergency, 10% for future business, and still remain with the 60% for use, having the fact in mind, having it in mind that a salary normally comes once a month, right? And when you give out 40% of your 15%, now you're remaining with 60%. Is it not going to be kind of hard for someone who's earning such a low kind of salary?
That is a very good question, because many of us fall within that income category of 10,000, 15,000. But let me make it very clear. Yes, it looks hard. It looks impossible. But that is impossible only as far as somebody's mentality is concerned. I want to say to the viewers, it is still possible to save despite your level of income. And let me explain this. And to be very specific, I want to repeat to the audience that I said 10% set aside for tithe.
Yeah.
That means you are inviting God into that low salary.
Okay.
God becomes a partner with you in that low level of income. Then set aside another 10%. Remember the needy. Remember the needy with this second 10%. Now, the third 10% is on matters of emergency. In life, there will be emergencies, certain things that happen without you being aware of them. Set aside 10%, and the last 10% is for business in future. Then you consume only 60%. Now, having repeated that, I say it is hard to save, but it is not impossible. Okay. Now, if you know that tomorrow will come, I would advise you, sacrifice today for the sake of tomorrow. Now, how do you sacrifice with that low income? This is how to sacrifice. Ask yourself, is there anybody in life earning less than your salary? The answer is definitely yes. Now, if there's somebody earning lower than your salary, then reduce yourself to his level of income. Then you will survive. Just ask yourself, how does he survive with a less salary? If he is able to survive, then you at your salary, you can also set aside 40% and survive on 60%. It is hard, but it is possible. For me, what I advise people on matters of savings is you better sacrifice today and enjoy life tomorrow. Feel pains today, but you will enjoy life when? Tomorrow. Other than wanting to enjoy life today, but when tomorrow comes, you will feel pains. You better suffer today and enjoy life tomorrow. You better sacrifice and save today, and you will get it tomorrow. And when you get it tomorrow, it will be more enjoyable than when you eat it today.
Wow.
Yes.
The key point there is it is hard to save, but it is actually possible to save however small your income is.
Yes.
You have mentioned something on tithing and giving to the needy.
Yes.
Tithing and giving to the needy is something more common with people, with believers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for non-believers, don't you think tithing and giving is more of a minus than giving than a plus? More of a minus than a plus to them?
Good question. Mm-hmm. And you're asking specifically that for non-believers.
Yeah.
I want to even tell those who are in the category of non-believers that nobody came to this world by his own power. Mm-hmm. We were all created by God. And therefore, when you remember your creator with your money, mm-hmm. I'm telling you, you are doing the right thing and you will never regret. Number two, not just remembering your creator with your money, but also when you remember the needy. In fact, when you look at the history of this world, or when you look at the practice of those who are rich, even if they are non-believers, they donate to the needy. And the more they continue donating to the needy, irrespective of whether they are born again or not born again, more wealth come to their lives. As they donate to the needy, more wealth come to their businesses, so that they increase in terms of their resources as a result of donating. Therefore, even to the non-believers, I advise you, mm-hmm. always remember the less fortunate people that are living around you. Family members, non-family members. As long as there's a needy person, please always set aside as a fraction and remember them. Let somebody say thank you. As people say thank you, the blessings follow you, irrespective of whether you're born again or not born again. So I advise born again, non-born again, always set aside 10% of your income for the needy.
Wow, I like how you give us more details into this. Mm-hmm. I would just want to ask you, you understand we are having a very tough economic times right now. You have given us the fractions, yes, but you see, people will still find it hard or difficult to save. Is there a tested and proved guideline for saving that we can actually get for people who are finding it hard, even after you having told us how possible it is, but you're still finding it hard? Is there a guideline for saving?
Yes, I'm giving what has worked for me. There are so many theories, by the way. And one of the theories of saving is about 50, 30, 20. That is also another theory of saving, that you are supposed to at least set aside 20% and save, then 50% you consume for domestic purposes and such like things. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to go with theory. I want to give people what has worked for me.
Okay.
It is what has worked for me that is better for me to share with people. Yeah. You know, for those who are Bible readers, mm-hmm. The Bible talks of you cannot give what you don't have. So personally, I want to give only what I have and what has worked for me. What has worked for me is the theory of 4 10s followed by 60%. Now, it has worked for me in this way, that when I give my 10% to God, God becomes my protector in terms of my income.
Okay.
Then when I give 10% to the needy, I get it back in abundance, because there's nobody who can outgive God anyway. Then when I set aside 10% for emergency, when times of emergencies come, I don't have to call many people. Hello, please help me. No. I just fall back to the emergency savings and I sort out my emergencies. Then when I save 10% for business, actually it has worked for me. Therefore, for as far as I'm concerned, I would advise people that minimum set aside 10% for tithing, 10% for the needy, 10% for emergencies, and 10% for your future business. Then currently consume the remaining 60%. That is what I would give to people as a guideline.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Let me ask you, because now we are giving practical, we're just saying what actually worked for you, what practically worked for you, right?
Yes.
Let me ask in the first place, what motivated you to save? The first time you decided, now I want to save, what motivated you to save?
Thank you. And I want to say I started saving from the time I started or I joined employment.
Okay.
That is the time I want to say that I remember having saved properly.
Okay.
There are other cases that I used to save, but those were cases where I was not getting steady income. But when I started getting steady income is when I remember that it was important to save.
Okay.
Now, saving helped me in going back to school. I was earning very meager salary, very low salary. I was employed by an Asian firm, getting a salary as low as 1,000 shillings per month. Now, with that low salary of 1,000 shillings per month, I decided to go to the slums of Kibera. Fortunately, I got a house whose rent at that time was 150 shillings per month.
Wow.
150 shillings per month would leave me with the money to save for my future education. So I set aside a fraction for my future education. When the right time came, I used these savings to go back to college. Actually, I started working when I was a Form 4 school leaver, saved money, started a professional course called CPA, finalized CPA, saved money again, joined university and took a degree course of Bachelor of Commerce in Finance, continued with saving, went back to college for a Master of Business Administration in Financial Management. So all this I managed to do as a result of saving. If I couldn't have saved, I tell you, I couldn't have furthered my education. So that is the importance of saving.
Okay, you have mentioned something like the moment you started having serious saving was when you started having a steady income.
Right.
So is it only advisable to start saving when one has a steady income, or you can just save? You can just save however much unsteady your income is?
I think that question is very important. Now, I don't want people to assume or believe that only employed people can save. That is not correct. Anybody with an income can save. In fact, even right now, I'm on my own employment, yet I'm still saving. So to answer your question in short, even if you are from a non-formal employment, you are self-employed, you are from Jua Kali sector, whichever income you receive, you can set aside the 10, 10, 10, 10, 60 and save. It is possible.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that. Back to your lecture about saving. You gave us several entities where one can save.
Yes.
Among those several entities, which one do you think is the most advisable one and why?
Good. I remember on my lecture, I talked about various places where somebody can keep his money for savings. I talked of a bank savings account. I also talked of a bank fixed deposit account. I also talked of a SACCO society. I also talked of money market funds. Now, I explained that bank savings accounts are good, but you risk losing your money to inflation. So I was not recommending savings accounts from banks as a vehicle for saving money. I also explained that fixed deposit accounts are good, but it is only good to the extent that the money will not be eaten by inflation. If the interest rate of the fixed deposit account is more than the rate of inflation, then use fixed deposit account. However, in most cases, the interest rate that we get from fixed deposit bank accounts are always less than the inflation rate. So as far as I'm concerned, I will not recommend a fixed deposit account as a place for saving your money. Now, I'm left with two vehicles. I'm left with money market funds, and I'm also left with a SACCO society. I would recommend the two. Now, I would recommend money market funds because if you compare the rate of return on your money from money market funds, many times it is higher than the inflation rate. So because of that, however long you'll keep your money with the money market funds, it will not be eaten up by inflation. Secondly, SACCO societies. The reason why I was recommending a Sacco society is because, one, you will not easily access that money. Once you keep your money with the Sacco society, the money remains there until you withdraw. And the beauty of Sacco societies, the ones that declare dividends also many times declare dividends at a rate which is higher than the rate of inflation. Then the other advantage of a Sacco society is you are able to get a credit facility at a rate much lower than the rate that the banks give for their loans. So if you want to save, I recommend those two vehicles, Sacco societies and money market funds, because of the reasons that I've just given.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that good explanation about the same. Let me just ask this personal question.
Yes.
Anyway. You managed to save from your Meagre income up to the point you are right now.
Yes.
This is a result of you saving.
Yes.
Would you please tell us what you have achieved through saving? So that if someone wants to save out there, they are motivated. Oh, CPA Shadrach saved and he's here right now. I'm also going to do the same. What do you think you can tell us you have achieved so far?
Thank you for that question. Now, I want to make it very clear. The first thing I achieved as a result of savings is education. Now, it is savings that enable me to get money to use for going back for further studies. As I mentioned, I left school in O levels during our times, that is Form 4.
Okay.
But as a result of savings, I managed to go back to school, starting with professional course of CPA, finalized it. Again, as a result of savings, I went to the university, did my Bachelor of Commerce in Finance, finished it. And again, as a result of savings, again, I went back for postgraduate degree course in Master of Business Administration in Financial Management. All these were happening because I was getting salaries, but I was putting aside a fraction for further education. That is just one, education. The second achievement, which came as a result of savings, is the house where I live in Nairobi. This house did not come easily. It was years of savings, years of savings. And after saving, I managed to get a credit facility from a Sacco society to start putting up this house. So you can see for yourself practically, there is something that savings did for me. And this is not all. As a result of saving, again, I managed to get a home up country, which is not cheap anyway. But that came as a result of accepting to persevere now for the sake of tomorrow. So at least there are certain things that we can count. I've just mentioned a few, which came as a result of savings.
Wow, you are my role model. I have seen these things practically, what savings has really made him achieve. I would advise us to also save. Let me ask you, what advice would you tell people who keep on postponing saving decisions?
Thank you for that very good question.
This is the last one.
Thank you. I want to encourage the audience that are watching me and listening to my voice. Please, postponing is a disease and it is against development. I want to encourage everybody listening to me, make a decision for savings today. Tomorrow never comes. When you begin it today, it will accumulate. It will accumulate. And I want to remind all of us, there is no time that you will not have challenges with money. Financial challenges will always be there. But what you can do, don't postpone a decision to save. Begin saving now. In 1 year's time, you will not remain the same. You will never remain the same. So I advise you, please make a decision for saving today, begin saving today, and you will never regret tomorrow.
Wow, CPA Shadrach, in less than a minute, would you give us your parting shot about saving and what it has done to you now that you have seen practical results of savings in your life? Give us a parting shot in less than a minute.
I want to say saving is godly. Saving is a vision that God gave to Joseph in Egypt. Saving is in the Word of God. Saving is biblical. Saving is from God himself. I encourage you, when you get that income, eat a fraction today, save a fraction today. With that fraction that you save today, you will get it after many days, and you will enjoy life after many days. So make a decision today. Don't postpone that decision. You will enjoy life tomorrow if you decide it today. Thank you.
Wow. And dear viewers, that was the end of our episode today with CPA Doctor Financial Management. You are go-to doctor when you have financial issues. Thank you so much for having watched this video today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. For many more episodes, turn on the notification bell so that you may be notified anytime a new video comes up. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.
And God bless you.
God bless you too.